I don't want to get blown out of the sky by a bomb in an airplane either. But I think the way this is done has got less to do with security on airplanes and more to do with inculcating the habit of obedience. Because after you've had a grievous experience like that, you ask yourself, do I want to go through that again? Or shall I just take these bloody x-rays, you know? And yeah, a lot of things are happening in our society like this that are taking away our choice as adults. So I think that's the first thing we have to do. We have to assert our right to control over fundamental issues of our own lives.
I think we should take some questions from the audience. But the only thing that I would like to say to that is, you know, the reasons that freedom of consciousness got revoked in the 60s, especially around psychedelics, had to do with the perceived sense that they were contributing to people, you know, questioning the system and beginning to transform the system. So, but what it is very interesting right now also to note is that there is on a kind of there are many different levels. There's a cultural reconsideration of psychedelic substances taking place right now. The New York Times had a page 1 article a few months ago about psychedelic medicine. A lot of studies couldn't get approved until through the 90s, and now there's a whole bunch of very amazing studies happening, which you guys should just know. I mean, they're useful to, you know, tell people about, just to get them thinking. There's a study with psilocybin and obsessive compulsive disorder, giving the active component of psilocybin to people with obsessive compulsive disorder, giving psilocybin to terminally ill cancer patients to see if it changes their perception of the dying process. LSD with psychotherapy, studies with Iboga, the West African psychedelic that I worked with in Gabon, and addiction. And what could be, I think, a very, very significant study for our society is with giving MDMA, which is also known as ecstasy, to returning veterans from the Iraq and Afghanistan war to see if it's a treatment tool for post-traumatic stress disorder in therapy contexts. And it's been getting good results. It's been already reported in the Army Daily newspaper and so on. And, you know, soldiers are a group of people obviously, you know, wanting to take care of their own. So if that's shown to have efficacy, I think that could really help change the you know, mentality around these kind of empathogenic and entheogenic substances.
Yeah, on the issue of psychedelics in particular, I think the mistake that was made in the 60s, and still a mistake that many are making today, is that these substances are anything to do with recreation. They're not. They're about very deep, serious personal work. And for that work to be done correctly, I think it requires, first and foremost, respect for these ancient plant medicines, because they are medicines, not drugs. It requires respect for the intelligence that lies behind them, and it requires respect for ourselves, which in my view involves a ceremonial setting and experienced practitioners who are involved in the ceremony and proper control of the space. And when all of this is taken into account, these agents can be transformative and extremely effective in breaking us out of old and established habits. I will say that my work with ayahuasca has been of fundamental importance in my life, and it has undoubtedly changed the view, the way that I view the world, the way that I view reality, and it has brought about a new burst of creativity in me, which after 30 years of writing non-fiction has resulted in a novel, and the inspiration for that was given to me in a series of ayahuasca sessions. It's also caused me to examine many, many issues in my own life that I simply never considered about before. Most importantly, how does my behavior impact on others around me? And I've been shown truths about myself that I had not ever examined before. And many people say taking a psychedelic, that's an easy way out. But actually it's not an easy way out, because once you're shown the truth about yourself, that's when the real work begins. That's when you have the opportunity to begin to make changes. And changing a lifetime of bad habits and negative behavior is not easy. It's extremely hard work, but once you begin on that path, it's definitely a path that leads ultimately to the light. I feel that we need, as a society, to develop a new approach to visionary experiences. In ancient times, visions and dreams were seen as a legitimate method of knowledge, an important method of gaining knowledge of reality. And in our society, they're regarded as frivolous and dangerous. And I think that we're making a huge mistake, and we're locked in a technological mindset from which we're finding it very difficult to escape.
I just wanted to say that also we were going to hand out some reality sandwich cards, just a reminder for you guys to check it out. And also we have a little sign-up sheet if you want to know about Evolver events locally. Gray was actually just with our reality sandwich crew in Utah, where we had a retreat with the artist Alex Gray and him kind of headlining. I was very sad not to be there. But we're also doing some stuff in Costa Rica coming up. So Robin, I think, is going to pass out some stuff if she's around for that. Should we take a question? So yeah, we have a few minutes for questions, 10 minutes, okay?
I just went through an airport and opted out of the full body scan. My husband was not going to opt out, but I made him opt out of it because of what some holistic MDs are saying, that it just blows the immune system. It's totally open to cancer. But the good news is that there are 4 pretty edgy nutritional visionaries who are coming together. Gabriel Cousins, Robert Down, Mercola, and David Wolf, where they're really trying to join their forces to educate people about this.
Jim, let's try to keep it to questions because there's so little time.
Could you get having come from the crop circle conference, could you get your perspective on what they are?
I live in Crop Circle Central. Yeah, the question is my perspectives on crop circles. Although I do live in Crop Circle Central, because the city of Bath is right in the middle of the largest area of crop circles in the UK, it's really only in the last 2 years, and thanks to the influence of one of my sons, that I've started to go into crop circles and investigate them. I always knew that it wasn't Doug and Dave with their ropes and boards, you know. It's amazing how in the early 90s, in Britain, through the late 80s and into the early 90s, there was a really growing fascination with crop circles. And then a piece of disinformation was published in tabloid newspapers about a couple of guys called Doug and Dave, who said they made them all with boards and ropes. And this immediately just destroyed interest in the whole phenomenon. Overnight, it was turned from an intriguing and interesting phenomenon into a laughingstock. I think this is a great pity, because it's obvious that Doug and Dave aren't making these crop circles. They certainly weren't making them in the 16th century, when there is also evidence of crop circles existing. They're certainly not making them on the gigantic and absolutely perfect scale that we see today. I mean, you know, we're being asked to believe, perhaps not Doug and Dave, but that a group of the greatest landscape artists in the world, who never make a mistake, and are capable of creating a gigantic design with nobody seeing them during the night, are operating with total anonymity for decades now and not claiming any responsibility for this. It's an unbelievable proposition. I think we have a huge mystery here, an absolutely gigantic mystery, and I don't know what the answer to that mystery is. I honestly have no idea. All I know is that the experiences I've had in crop circles in the past couple of years have filled me with curiosity and interest, and I plan to spend next summer learning a whole lot more about these amazing, I suspect, communications. I'm not sure what they're doing. There are certain patterns and shapes that can work on the human psyche, and I think something very mysterious is going on here. But Daniel has spent a lot more time in crop circles than I have, so I'm going to pass the microphone to him.
Yeah, actually, if you read my 2012 book, I have like 80 or 100 pages on studying them, and thinking about them. And I think that they're a teaching on the nature of reality and the nature of consciousness. and that teaching is coming from some